The morning sky above Seoul turned bright white as something impossible happened. 12 giant ships, each one bigger than a city, came down through the clouds. People on the streets stopped walking and pointed up. Cars crashed as drivers forgot to watch the road. Children started crying while their parents pulled them close. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood inside the space station that orbited Earth. He had been a soldier for 30 years, but he had never seen anything like this. His hands shook as he watched the alien ships position themselves above the biggest cities on Earth. "Sir, they are trying to talk to us," said Lieutenant Park Min-soo, who was young, maybe 25, and her voice was scared. She had joined the Space Force because she thought it would be exciting, or she wished she had stayed home. The alien voice came through every radio, every television, every phone on Earth at the same time, spoke in perfect Korean, then English, then Chinese, then every language humans had ever created. The voice was deep and cold, like metal scraping against stone. "Small creatures of the third planet from your star. I am War Prime Veltar of the Galactic HFY. We have come to add your world to our empire." On the main screen, an image appeared. Of the creature speaking, it was 3 meters tall, covered in what looked like living crystal. Its forearms moved with perfect coordination, and its eyes glowed with inner light. Technology seemed to grow from its skin like jewelry. Dr. Lee Ha-jin watched from her laboratory in the space station. She studied aliens for a living, though she had never expected to meet real ones. Her equipment showed readings that made her stomach drop. "They are stronger than us in every way," she whispered to her assistant. "Their bones are 3 times denser than ours. Their muscles are more efficient. They live longer," Alien continued speaking. "We have watched your species for 17 of your years. Your lives are short. Your bodies break easily. Your machines are simple toys. You have no real weapons. You cannot fight us." Down on Earth, President Choi Sung-min sat in his office, surrounded by generals and scientists. His gray hair was messy from running his hands through it. He'd been president for 6 years and had dealt with wars, disasters, and economic crashes. But this was different. This was the end of everything he knew. "What do they want?" he asked his advisors. "Complete surrender," replied Defense Minister Park Jun-ho. "They want us to give up without fighting. They say we have 72 hours to decide. And if we refuse, they will destroy every city on Earth." President Choi looked out his window at the people of Seoul, going about their daily lives. They did not know yet that their world had changed forever. In a few hours, everyone would know that humans were not alone in the universe. They would also know that the other species out there were not friendly. Above the city, the alien ship cast a shadow over 2 million people. The ship was black and smooth with no visible windows or doors. It just hung there, silent and threatening. It's like a storm cloud that would never move. In cities around the world, the same scene played out. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Cairo, Mumbai. Every major population center now lived under an alien shadow. People gathered in the streets, pointing up at the ships with mixtures of wonder and terror. The alien ships did not move. They did not attack. They just waited, like predators watching prey decide whether to run or fight. War Prime Veltar stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at the blue and green planet below. In his long life, he had conquered 47 worlds. Some had fought back. Some had surrendered immediately. All had fallen within days. This world would be no different. The creatures that lived here were weak and divided. They fought wars among themselves with crude weapons. They had barely begun to explore their own star system. Their technology was thousands of years behind the hegemonies. "How long do you estimate the conquest will take?" asked his second-in-command. "A creature with 6 legs and skin like polished metal. 3 days at most," Veltar replied. "They are smart enough to surrender. These humans are not warriors. They are farmers and builders. They will not fight when they see how outmatched they are." Back on Earth, President Choi made his decision. He walked to the cameras that would broadcast his words to every human on the planet. His speech would be remembered for as long as humanity survived, whether that was days or centuries. "Citizens of Earth," he began, his voice steady despite the fear in his heart. "We are not alone in the universe. You're not welcome in it. But we are human. We have survived ice ages and plagues. We have survived wars and disasters. We have survived every challenge this world has thrown at us. He paused, thinking of his children, his grandchildren, and all the children who might never grow up if he chose wrong. We will not surrender. We will not kneel. We will show these invaders what humans are really made of. Above the cities, the alien ships continued their silent watch, waiting for humanity's final answer. Captain Han Juan gripped the controls of his fighter jet as it screamed through the sky toward the alien ship hovering over Seoul. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it over the roar of the engines. Around him, hundreds of other pilots from dozens of countries flew in the largest military attack in human history. "This is Eagle 1 to all units," he spoke into his radio. "Remember, we are fighting for our families, our children, our planet. Make every shot count." The response came from pilots speaking Korean, English, Chinese, Russian, and Arabic. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth was fighting together. Old enemies flew side by side. Countries that had been at war for decades now shared the same target. Admiral Kim Tae-ho watched from the orbital station as Earth's entire military force launched their attack. Every nuclear submarine fired its missiles. Every army base shot its biggest guns. Every air force sent its fastest planes. Humanity was throwing everything they had at the alien fleet. "Fire everything," he commanded. "Show them that humans do not go quietly." The sky filled with thousands of missiles, bullets, and nuclear warheads. From space, it looked like Earth was surrounded by angry fireflies, all heading toward the 12 alien ships. The attack was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Warprime Veltar watched the human assault with something that might have been amusement. The creatures were brave, he had to admit. Stupid, but brave. Their weapons were heading toward his ships like a cloud of metal insects. "Activate defensive shields," he ordered calmly. "Let us show them the difference between children playing with toys and real warriors." The alien ships glowed with blue light as their shields activated. The first wave of human missiles struck the barriers and simply vanished, like raindrops hitting a window. Nuclear weapons that could destroy entire cities barely made the shields flicker. Captain Han fired his most advanced missiles at the alien ship. He watched them explode harmlessly against the blue barrier. His radio crackled with similar reports from other pilots. Direct hit, no damage. Nuclear strike ineffective. Their shields are not even weakening. Then the aliens began to fight back. Beams of red light shot from their ships, cutting through human aircraft like knives through paper. Captain Han watched in horror as his wingman's plane simply melted away, leaving nothing but empty air. "Evasive maneuvers," he shouted, but it was too late for most of his squadron. The alien weapons moved faster than human pilots could react. They did not miss. They did not waste shots. Every beam of light destroyed a human fighter. On the ground, General Kang In-ho watched his tanks and soldiers attack the alien forces that had landed in the city. His men were well-trained and experienced. They had fought in wars around the world. They had never fought anything like this. The alien soldiers moved like dancers, avoiding human bullets with impossible grace. Their weapons fired some kind of energy that went through human armor like it was not there. Worse, they seemed to know what the humans were going to do before they did it. "How are they predicting our moves?" asked Major Shinera, his communications officer. She was watching the battle through cameras mounted on the soldiers' helmets. "They have been studying us for 17 years, General Kang replied grimly. "They know how we fight. They know how we think. We are like children playing a game against adults." Within 3 hours, the battle was over. 60% of Earth's military forces had been destroyed. The alien ships had not even been scratched. Human technology that had seemed so advanced just hours before now looked like toys in comparison. War-Prime. Biltar's face appeared on every screen on Earth. His crystalline features showed no motion as he surveyed the destruction his forces had caused. "Pathetic," he said, his voice carrying to every human ear. Your species fights like frightened children with primitive toys. This is why the strong rule the weak across the galaxy. You have proven that you cannot defend yourselves." His bunker beneath the city, President Choi Soon-min sat surrounded by his surviving advisors. Half of them were dead. The other half looked like they had given up hope. "Sir, we have to surrender," said Defense Minister Park Jun-ho. His uniform was torn and dirty. "You cannot fight them. They are too strong." But President Choi was not listening. He was looking at a message on his secure computer. It was from Professor Nam Hyun-woo at the university. The message was short. Phase 1, complete. Initiating Phase 2. In his laboratory bunker, Professor Nam typed a series of codes into his computer. He had been waiting for this moment for 20 years. His students watched him with confusion as he activated systems they had never seen before. "Professor, what are you doing?" asked his graduate student, Yoon Soo-ben. She was young and scared, but she trusted her teacher. "I am ending their games," he replied quietly. "They think they know everything about us. They think they have one. But they have only seen what we wanted them to see." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, machines that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. In the mountains of Tibet, massive doors opened for the first time in 50 years. Across the globe, in places that appeared on no map, installations that officially did not exist started their final preparations. The aliens had won the first battle. But the war was just beginning. Colonel Bae Dong-hyen pressed his back against the broken concrete wall, bullets flying over his head. Around him, 30 human soldiers held their position against 300 alien troops in what used to be downtown, Busan. The aliens had expected an easy victory after destroying most of Earth's military. But something strange was happening. "Are we still alive?" whispered Sergeant Kim Min-ho, reloading his rifle. He had been fighting for 6 hours straight, and by all logic, they should have been dead within the first 10 minutes. "Stay focused," Colonel Bae replied. But he was wondering the same thing. His small unit was moving and fighting like they had trained together for years, even though half of them had never met before today. They seemed to know exactly where the aliens would attack next. 3 blocks away, the alien field commander stood in his mobile command center, studying the battle reports with growing confusion. His name was Torvak, and he had conquered 12 worlds before this one, but he had never seen anything like this. "Explain to me how 30 primitive creatures are holding off 300 of our warriors," he demanded from his tactical officer. "Sir, they appear to be coordinating without any visible communication devices," the officer replied, his voice uncertain. "They predict our movements before we make them. Our tactical computers cannot understand their strategy. That is impossible. Our intelligence shows they have no telepathic abilities." "Yes, sir. But they are adapting to our weapons faster than our computers can compensate." Torvak slammed his 4 fists on the table. "They are just animals. Weak, short-lived animals." That was when the first impossible thing happened. A beam of pure white energy came down from empty space, hitting an entire alien battalion. 200 soldiers simply vanished, leaving only smoking craters where they had stood. The attack had come from coordinates where Earth's sensors showed nothing but space debris. War Prime Veltar stood on his command ship, watching the reports flood in from across the globe. Similar attacks were happening everywhere. Weapons were appearing from locations that their scans had shown as empty. "What do you mean, weapons emerging from underground?" he roared at his intelligence officer. "Our scans showed no military installations. We mapped every human facility." "Sir, we are detecting massive energy signatures from beneath the planet's surface. Structures that were not there yesterday are now active." That is impossible. But impossible things were happening all over Earth. In the Korean peninsula, a mountain split open, revealing a facility that stretched kilometers underground. In the Sahara Desert, sand dunes collapsed to show massive metal structures. Under the ocean, platforms that looked like natural rock formations began rising to the surface. Dr. Song Ji-won stood in the command center of Facility 7. Buried 3 kilometers beneath Mount Jiri, the chamber around her was the size of a football stadium, filled with technology that officially did not exist. Hundreds of technicians worked at stations that monitored battles across the globe. "Initiate Project Horizon," she commanded, her voice echoing through the facility. "Ma'am, are you certain?" asked her assistant, Lieutenant Park Soo-jin. "Once we activate everything, there will be no hiding anymore." "They wanted to see Earth's military capability," Dr. Song replied. "Let us show them what we have really been building." Across the planet, similar conversations were taking place in similar facilities. Underground bases that had been constructed during the Cold War revealed their true purpose. Orbital platforms that had been disguised as space junk for 50 years suddenly bristled with weapons. Research stations hidden in Antarctica activated systems that bent the laws of physics. Professor Nam Hyun-woo sat in his laboratory, watching his students' faces as they realized what they were seeing. For 20 years, he had been teaching them about theoretical physics and space technology. Now they learned it was not theoretical at all. "Professor, this equipment," said Yoon Soo-ben, staring at computers that were decades ahead of anything she had studied. "How long has this been here?" "Since before you were born," he replied. "We have been preparing for this day since the 1960s. Every primitive satellite the aliens ignored was watching them. Every backward facility was advancing our technology. The first real counterattack began at sunset. Gravity manipulation. Weapons tore alien ships apart from the inside. Quantum tunneling devices allowed human forces to appear inside enemy vessels. Particle beam weapons that had been testing in secret for decades carved through alien armor like paper." Colonel Bay watched in amazement as reinforcements arrived at his position. These were not ordinary soldiers. They moved too fast, hit too hard, and seemed to know exactly where every enemy was located. Their uniforms bore no national flags, only a symbol he had never seen before. "Who are you?" he asked their leader, a woman who looked to be in her 30s but moved like she had been fighting for centuries. "Deep Space Command," she replied. "Simply, we have been waiting for this day for a very long time." Above them, the alien ship that had been bombarding the city suddenly stopped firing. Its hull was cracking along invisible lines. It's pulled apart by forces that worked on the atomic level. Warprime. Veltar felt fear for the first time in his long life as he watched. His flagship shields fail against weapons that should not exist. The humans had not just been hiding their military. They had been pretending to be primitive while building technology that surpassed even the hegemonies. "Retreat," he commanded. "All ships, retreat immediately." But it was too late. The hunters had become the hunted. Commander Oh Sung-won piloted his fighter through the wreckage of what had been the alien flagship just minutes before. The massive ship was now broken into thousands of pieces, floating in space like deadly confetti. Around him, 50 other human pilots flew ships that looked nothing like the jets the aliens had destroyed earlier. "Target their command vessel." With the quantum disruptors, he ordered his squadron through his helmet radio. His voice was calm, but his heart was racing with excitement. After hiding for so long, humanity was finally showing its true strength. The alien Warprime Veltar stood on the bridge of his remaining command ship, watching his invincible fleet being torn apart by weapons that should not exist. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being destroyed by technology that made no sense according to everything the hegemony knew about physics. "How are they doing this?" he screamed at his science officer. "Their weapons are bending space itself, sir. They appear to be using controlled gravity fields to collapse our ships from within." The officer replied, his voice shaking. "The energy readings are impossible. No species should be able to generate this much power." Through the view screen, Veltar watched a human weapon create a tiny black hole that sucked in 3 of his destroyers. Another device fired a beam that seemed to age metal, making 1,000-year-old alien hulls crumble like ancient paper. General Kang. In-ho stood in the war room buried beneath the mountains of North Korea, coordinating attacks across 17 different star systems. The room was filled with holographic displays showing battles taking place light years away. His staff worked at computers that could calculate faster than alien minds could think. "Deploy the deep strike teams to their home worlds," he commanded. It is time to take this war to them. Major Shin Era looked up from her tactical display with concern. Sir, are you certain? We have never tested the long-range capabilities at this scale. They wanted to see Earth's arsenal, General Kang replied, his eyes hard as stone. Let us show them what we have really been building while they thought we were playing with primitive toys. The quantum tunneling devices activated across the globe. These machines could fold space like paper, allowing human forces to appear instantly anywhere in the galaxy. For 50 years, they had been tested in secret. Now, they were humanity's sword, reaching across the stars, in the hegemony's home system. Alien civilians looked up at their purple sky in confusion as human ships appeared from nowhere. The impossible had happened. The primitive species from the backwater planet had brought war to the heart of their empire. Captain Park Hyun-soo led the first wave of bioengineered super soldiers onto an alien command ship. These were not the same humans the aliens had studied for 17 years. These volunteers had undergone decades of genetic modification. Combining human intelligence with alien technology stolen from crashed ships, remember, we want their command staff alive, he told his team as they cut through the ship's hull with handheld plasma torches. We need information about their other fleets. The alien crew that met them in the corridors had never seen anything like these modified humans. They moved faster than alien reflexes could follow, hit harder than alien armor could withstand, and seemed to know exactly where every enemy was hiding. Dr. Young Min-jun watched from the orbital command center as humanity's real military revealed itself piece by piece. As the director of the secret bioweapons program, he had spent 30 years creating the soldiers now boarding alien ships across the galaxy. The enhancement program is performing beyond expectations, he reported to the Joint Chiefs. Our soldiers are adapting to alien technology faster than we hoped. They are learning to use captured alien weapons within minutes. On the surface of the alien capital world, modified human soldiers fought creatures that were twice their size and 3 times their strength. But the aliens had trained for conventional warfare. They were not prepared for enemies who could leap 20 meters straight up, punch through steel with their bare hands, heal from wounds that should have been fatal. Commander Lee. Suman stood in the control room of humanity's most secret weapon, a space station that had been disguised as a moon for 40 years. The station was now moving toward the center of the alien empire, its weapons charging for a final strike. Sir, we are receiving surrender requests from 6 different alien species, reported her communications officer. Tell them we will consider their requests after they withdraw all forces from human space, she replied. But first, we finish what they started. The station's main weapon fired once. The beam traveled faster than light itself, reaching the alien empire's capital in seconds. When it struck, the planet's military installations simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not damaged, they just ceased to be. As if they had never been built at all. War-Prime. Veltar felt his ship shudder as human. Weapons tore through systems that had been designed to last forever. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to escape, but there was nowhere to run. Human forces had appeared in every system, at every important location, all at the same time. Send a message to the human fleet, he commanded, his voice defeated. Tell them we wish to discuss terms. The message was sent, but the response came not from the human military, but from President Choi Sung-min himself, broadcast across the galaxy. You called us weak. You underestimated us. Now, you will learn what happens when you threaten Earth's children. The war was turning, and the galaxy would never be the same again. 6 months after the first alien ships appeared over Earth, War Prime Veltar knelt in chains on the floor of what had once been the hegemony's most important council chamber. The room was filled with representatives from dozens of worlds, but now they all answered to the humans who sat at the high table. Fleet. Admiral Ru Hyojin looked down at the creature that had once commanded 12 species across the galaxy. She wore the uniform of Earth's Deep Space Command, an organization that had officially existed for less than a year, but had actually been operating in secret for decades. How? Veltar asked, his voice broken and quiet. How did we miss an entire military civilization? We watched you for 17 years. We saw your primitive weapons, your divided nations, your simple technology. Admiral Rue smiled, but it was not a kind smile. You saw exactly what we wanted you to see. Did you really think a species that survived ice ages, world wars, and nuclear weapons would be unprepared for visitors from space? Ambassador Li Hainju stepped forward from her position at the negotiating table. She represented the new Terran Galactic Alliance, an organization that now included 47 different species. Most of them had been slaves under the hegemony just months before. We have been preparing for first contact for over a century, she explained to the assembled alien representatives. Every satellite you thought was primitive was actually watching you. Every facility you dismissed as backward was advancing our technology. We let you think you were the strongest predators in the galaxy. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Many of them had been part of the hegemony for thousands of years. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and enslaved dozens of species. Now they were learning that they had been the ones being studied all along. Dr. Yang Minjun, now the director of interspecies research, activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy as it was today. The irony is beautiful, he said. We used your own intelligence gathering to build weapons specifically designed to counter your advantages. You taught us exactly how to defeat you. The display showed human fleets patrolling systems that had been under alien control for millennia, and former slave species were now building their own governments under human protection. The hegemony's 12 member races had been reduced to 7. With the others joining humanity's alliance, President Choi Seung-min appeared on the main screen, speaking from his office in Seoul. Behind him, the city showed no signs of the battle that had taken place. There, human technology had rebuilt the damaged areas within weeks. We do not want an empire like yours, he said, addressing the Alien Council. We do not believe that strength gives us the right to dominate others, but we will not allow anyone to threaten the innocent, whether they are human or alien. The changes across the galaxy had been swift and dramatic. Species that had been enslaved for centuries were now free. Worlds that had been stripped of their resources were receiving aid to rebuild. The hegemony's massive war fleets had been either destroyed or converted into exploration and research vessels. General Kong Inho stood before a tactical display showing the new galactic order. The most interesting part, he said to his staff, is how many species are asking to join our alliance. They are not afraid of us the way they were afraid of the hegemony. Major Shin Era nodded, reviewing reports from across the galaxy. 17. Different species have requested human protection this month alone. They say they feel safer with us than they ever did under the old system. That is because we do not rule through fear, the general replied. We rule through respect. War Prime Veltar looked up at Admiral Rue with confusion in his crystalline eyes. Why are you not destroying us? We came to enslave your world. We killed your people. Why do you show mercy? Because that is what separates us from you, she replied. We fight to protect, not to conquer. We kill when we must, but we do not enjoy it. That is why the galaxy trusts us now. The new reality was still hard for many to accept. The hegemony had ruled for over 3,000 years. Her technology had been the most advanced in the galaxy. Their military had been unbeatable. Now they were learning that a species they had dismissed as primitive had been secretly surpassing them in every way. Professor Nam Hyanwoo sat in his laboratory, now working openly with alien scientists who had once been his enemies. The most important lesson, he told his students, is that intelligence comes in many forms. The hegemony thought physical strength and advanced weapons made them superior, but they never learned to truly understand the species they conquered. His student, Yoon Soo-ben, looked at the alien researchers working alongside humans. And we won because we studied them, but they never really studied us. Exactly, the professor replied. They saw what they expected to see. We saw what was really there. The galaxy was entering a new age. Trade routes that had been controlled by the hegemony were now open to all species. Scientific knowledge was being shared freely. Worlds that had been battlefields were becoming centers of learning and culture. Veltar was led away to begin his new life as a prisoner, but also as a teacher. Humanity had decided that the best way to prevent future wars was to understand their former enemies completely. The weak had become strong, and the galaxy was better for it.